Hey guys, Peter here to do an album review. Today I'm here to tell you about the latest from Nightfall, At Night We Pray, out March 5th on Season of Mist. This album has 10 tracks, 46 minutes in length, and this is the band's 10th full-length studio album. They're from Greece and they're a melodic black death doom metal band, and this is their first record in 8 long years. Now before we get started with the album, I want to mention the title one more time, At Night We Pray. I love the duality, the play on words with this title. Depending if you're listening to it or you're reading it, you may get a different idea. And that's a really interesting approach for an album title. Now, once you get into the record, I love how this album starts, because the start of this album gives you a glimpse in what to expect from the rest of the record. This album starts off with an intro track, very atmospheric, beautiful keyboards called She Loved the Twilight. And then from that track, it bleeds into the start, into the beginning, into what the next track is going to be, which is Killing Moon. So these two songs, while being two separate tracks, they're really one single song. You can't really have one without the other. And they work well together, and like I said, they open the doors for you, allowing you to experience a little bit of the atmosphere, a little bit of the darkness, a little bit of the mood that this record has in store as you'll progress through it. So I love this start of the record. It really gives me a glimpse that this is going to be an album that's going to have a great structure, that's going to be very dynamic, very fluid. It's going to keep me on the edge of my seat, it's going to keep me connected, it's going to keep me coming back for more. And that's exactly what's going to happen with the rest of the album. The album is very diverse. It offers a lot of different looks, a lot of different feels, and a lot of the times that comes from the individual song construction, because they didn't repeat the same formula across a multitude of tracks. They kept it very fresh, very new from song to song, and how it was constructed, and then in how it was delivered. And then that transfers itself to the overall soundscape that the album has, which is one that offers a lot of diversity as well. It brings elements of black metal, of doom, of death metal, incorporating them all, sometimes all of them together in one track, sometimes giving you songs that perhaps go more towards one or towards the other. So when you have these three genres coming in, dictating the overall sound, dictating the overall experience and atmosphere of a record, you're going to be sure that you're going to get different looks, you're going to get different feels. Having said that, this is not an album that feels broken. It's not a record that feels like there's 10 songs and all 10 of them are pulling you in a different direction. Almost like all 10 of them belong to 10 different records and they're just together in this compilation. That's not the case with this album. For an album that offers this much of variety as far as sound and experience is concerned, the album stays very cohesive, it stays very concise across all 10 songs. And in my opinion, that is due to a couple of different factors. One of them is the atmosphere. The atmosphere of this record really stays true throughout all 10 songs. It doesn't matter if one track is a little bit more darker, or if one song is a little bit more heavier, or if there's a song that's a little bit more melodic. The overall sense, the overall sensation that you get out of each and every single song on this album stays very together, stays very balanced across every single song. So that is definitely a sense of unity, brings a sense of unity to the table and allows the record to stay together. The other aspect of it is the emotional drive that this record has. I felt that this was a very emotionally driven album. You can feel it in the lyrics, but you can also feel it in the vocals and how they transmit those lyrics to the audience. So these are two of the main elements that stay consistent. They vary ever so slightly, but they stay very consistent in terms of the output that they give you. Not necessarily how they come together, but the output that they give you stays consistent across all 10 tracks, allows the album to be a little bit more diverse as far as the soundscape is concerned, but still stay as a unit, still stay as one, and not really feel broken into pieces, or not really feel like it's pulling you, like I said, in different directions. Once you get deeper into the soundscape, you definitely have to mention the drums and guitars. I personally love the drums on this album. Very powerful, very heavy, really creating this incredible foundation that allows the album to have the necessary pillars in order to stand on its own. Always bringing in force, always bringing in a lot of strength, a lot of direction, and allowing the guitars to then come as the second element and be a little bit more driven, be a little bit more diverse. If there's an element of diversity within the soundscape of this record, or that pushes the diversity of the soundscape of the album to the forefront, it's definitely the guitars. You're going to get melody, you're going to get heaviness, chunky at times, very thin, very powerful, very straight to the point, and others, a little bit of everything that those three genres have in store as far as your traditional guitar sound is concerned. It's going to be at play on this album. Some songs you have more of that black metal style approach to the way the guitars are played, and some songs you're going to get more of a doom vibe, and some others you're going to get more of a straightforward, in-your-face death metal sound. So this diversity of sound that I was talking about earlier, in the most part, is really brought to the forefront by how the guitars are played and how they're recorded and how they mixed in with the heaviness of the drums, because the heaviness of the drums is pretty much another consistent factor across every single song on this album. Now, I already mentioned the vocals, but I want to go a little bit deeper into the vocals because I really enjoy them on this record. They were not a one-size-fits-all from the beginning of the album all the way to the end. There was some consistency in terms of how they were used, in terms of how they were recorded, the quality of sound, the uniqueness that they have within themselves. All of those elements stayed together and stayed true across all 10 songs. But the emotional experience that you get out of the lyrics transported to you by the vocals changes from track to track. Depending on what the lyrics are, depending on what the message is, on what that song is about, you feel like the vocals ever so slightly adapt to them and maybe change a few small elements, really on the fringe, in order to really not break the overall sense that the vocals have for the record, to stay consistent throughout the album, but still give it ever so slight changes, some nuances here and there, just to keep things fresh and to bring the lyrics to life, to really bring the essence of the message of the lyrics, of the story of the lyrics, and most important, the emotion that is really buried deep into the lyrical content of this record. I really feel like this is a very emotionally driven album. It's there to a certain extent in the soundscape and the diversity that it offers, but I think where you're going to get the most out of it is definitely in the vocals and in the lyrical content and how the vocals translate those lyrics into real life. Using some female vocals adds a little bit of flavor to this record, but it doesn't really change what this album is all about. There's not enough of it to really change your eyesight or change your perception of the songs. Most often they're not. The use of female vocals throughout the record is just more to create atmosphere, to give a little bit of an extra spice, an extra layer, an extra depth, if you will, to how the lyrics are coming together with the overall vocal performance. So I really enjoy that. I enjoy the fact that it was very sporadic and not something that became repetitive song after song after song. Overall, I love this record. It's a really robust, it's a very powerful, heavy album. And perhaps if you're going to be a little bit more critical about it, the thing you would be critical of would be the diversity of sound. You would perhaps want the album to be a little bit more consistent from that perspective. And I can see people saying that about this record because it is very diverse. I wouldn't go as far as to call it eclectic, but it is very diverse. I like that diversity, and the reason why I like that diversity on this album has to do with that emotional drive that the record has from a soundscape and, like I said, from a lyrical perspective. You cannot have songs that bring different feelings out of you and not deliver them in a different format. You wouldn't be doing a disservice not only to the songs but to the lyrics and to the message of the tracks themselves. So diversity could be a problem, but on a record like this, when you look at all the different pieces, when you look at the emotional baggage that this album carries across all the different elements, you need that. You need to change ever so slightly from song to song because the state of mind that you're in on each and every single song changes. You don't think the same way, you don't feel the same way towards every single song. So you need to adapt and you need to change as you progress through the album. That is the beauty of this record when you look really down and deep into how this album was constructed. Now, as far as songs are concerned, I love Witches. I just love this track. It has a lot of power, a lot of strength, a lot of drive, a lot of heaviness. It moves slow as it starts, but it has purpose. You always feel like it's not just spinning its wheels, it's moving slow, but it's slowly taking you where it needs to go, and that's a very important aspect of this track. I also love the bass line on this song. Very groovy, very heavy. It adds a little bit of an atmosphere to how the track comes across. The guitars provide dark melody that creates the atmosphere that this song really has in spades. I felt like the guitars were really the element pushing that atmosphere to the forefront. The drums are a little bit more consistent. They're the foundation of the track, providing the heaviness, providing everything that this song needs in order for the guitars to be a little bit more atmospheric and to change ever so slightly as the song evolves. Because this is a track that becomes more fluid, that changes as you progress. It doesn't stay the same way as it started. You feel like this track is morphing, is growing. Your views are changing, the perception of the track starts to change, and by the time the song is finished, you feel like this is a more bombastic, it's a more robust track that's coming at you a little bit more relentless. The use of female vocals on this track was interesting because it added atmosphere to the lyrics. It brought them almost to life in certain key moments of the song. So I like the use of it, and I like the fact that it was sporadically used even on this track, but it added something. It added a layer that was important in order for the song to have a little bit more depth. Next, Giants of Anger. This is my favorite track on the album. I cannot get enough of this song. I just love it. Musically and lyrically, this song is absolutely outstanding. The drums are heavy, and this is going to be a consistent throughout the record. But on this song, the drums are really powerful, really heavy, really coming at you with a lot of intensity and aggression. The guitars push the sound. They're the drivers. They're sitting behind the driver's seat, really dictating where this track is going to go. And then the vocals exteriorize the emotions that are packed within the sensation of the song, within the feelings that are built within the track, and definitely within the lyrics themselves, creating a lot of atmosphere. I really felt like the vocals helped the atmosphere of the track. It helped you feel the darkness that this song has. A song that has a roadmap. It allows you to understand exactly where you were, where you are, and where you're going. It doesn't really offer a lot of deviations. It doesn't really throw a curveball at you. You feel very comfortable in this song and the darkness that it holds as you progress through the track. The clean vocal bridge towards the end of the song is really interesting because it changes everything. It resets the track and allows the song to close off as heavy, or perhaps feeling even heavier than it did when it started. And believe it or not, it added a lot of darkness. By going with clean vocals, by using this very melodic bridge, it made the song feel even darker, if that's even possible. But I thought it was also important because it resetted the track, and it was towards the end of the song, so it made the end of the track feel very bombastic, very dynamic, and not allowing you to forget exactly where things had started. Last but not least, Wolves in Thy Head. I really love this track as well. This is the closing track of the album, and it closes with a more melodic, methodic track that has a little bit of a sense of a finality to it. This song is constructed in a way, and the way it sounds as well, has a sense of closing off the record. I don't see this song being anywhere else in the album, because once you listen to this track, it doesn't give you this feeling that there's going to be something coming after. This is it. This is the end. There's nothing there afterwards, just blank darkness. That's all you're going to get. So that emotion, that atmosphere is definitely present in this track, and the way it moves and the way it sounds. The lyrics also play a factor into that, because I felt like they fit perfectly into the mood of the song. And then on top of that, the vocal delivery changed ever so slightly on this track to meet the needs that the track had. Meet the needs as far as the musical drive is concerned, as far as the lyrics goes, but also as far as that dark atmosphere, that melancholic, methodic atmosphere that's definitely present in this song. But this is a track that, as many tracks on this album, it always moves, it always morphs, it always evolves, and this song does exactly the same thing. You feel like this track is starting to grow as you progress. You start to move out of that more methodic, melodic, melancholic sound, becoming slightly more aggressive, almost like if it's moving from the darkness into the light, and with the light comes a lot more power. The song becomes bigger, it expands, the volume feels like it's gotten a lot bigger, the song itself feels like it's gaining more ground. And that is one of the elements that this track has to offer, is that sense of coming. It's almost like a funnel. It's coming from a very narrow, methodic place into a more wide open arena. So I love that progression that the track has. But even throughout that progression, you never really lose the atmosphere, the emotion that the track has, and it still has that sense of closure at the end, even though you felt like you've came from a very deep place into a much broader space. This is it. This is Nightfall with At Night We Pray, out March 5th on Season of Mist. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.